It's that time, everybody. Time for another video game marathon. This time we're going to venture inside the world of Megaman X. In 2013, Some Call Me Johnny, who I subscribe to, did a marathon on classic Mega Man. It's a really fun marathon to watch, so I suggest you do so, as he can be quite funny, but also informative as well. The X series is more or less a darker, edgier Mega Man series, having stories of conflict on a much grander scale than the classic series, and it stars two protagonists that are well beloved by fans. So we have 13 games to cover, but not all the games will have their own separate video, as evidenced by today's title, in which not only am I reviewing the very first game in the series, but also the remake for the PlayStation Portable. And yes, I said 13 games. 9 main games, 2 on handhelds, 1 remake, and 1 hack. So let's gear up and let's step inside the battlefield. It is time for the Mega Man X Marathon. So first up, we're going to be looking at the very first game, as well as its remake on the PlayStation Portable. The first 3 games in the Mega Man X series are for the SNES, and to make it easier for myself, I'll actually be playing them via the Mega Man X collection, which has X1 all the way through X6.
It was during the 90s when my cousins and I played Mega Man X1 for the first time, and each time we keep experimenting on what boss to take down first, and it's all trial and error from there until we find the right pattern to take. After all, Mega Man games are about choosing which boss is easier to take down first, as well as using the weapon of said chosen boss to take down another for an easier progression. What's interesting about the X series is its darker setting. Mega Man always has the simple plot of just taking down Robot Masters en route to stopping Dr. Wily. But X has a different atmosphere that tells stories of moral and philosophical values within the android society, and the series also has characters that would continue to develop with each passing game, making them iconic.
Now before I start with the review of the first game, I will give out my general synopsis of the Mega Man X series to get a better understanding of what's to come.
During the year 20XX, 30 years after classic Mega Man in an alternate timeline. Yeah, I don't consider Mega Man X to be part of the actual timeline, so I'll consider this one an alternate universe and timeline. Dr. Thomas Light and Dr. Albert Wily spent their final years creating their final projects, Mega Man X and Zero respectively. X was sealed away for approximately 3 decades after years of diagnostic testing, believing that the world is not yet ready for a robot that can fully make its own decisions. Dr. Light leaves a video message for whomever finds X, which he then succumbs to old age and illness thereafter, but not before Dr. Light crafts a sentient holographic artificial intelligence template that will assist X and whoever he allies with. Zero, by contrast, was created for the sole purpose of combat and to carry out dominion over the world. Though he could have added more to Zero's design, Dr. Wily believes Zero can carry out his programmed purpose in life without any need of expanding further. Wily knew he would also pass on as well, so he also sealed Zero away in hopes that 3 decades' time, Zero would awaken on his own and carry out Wily's will. Though Zero won't have any memory of what else he's designed for, let alone have any memory of his creator. In 21XX, Doctors Light and Wily have passed on, and a scientist and archaeologist named Dr. Kane found Light's lab in one of his and his team's excavations and discovers X. After studying the specifications of X and disregarding Light's warnings of possible free will misuse, Kane started creating a new line of androids that replicated X's free will called Reploids. Among those created is a general named Sigma. Elsewhere on the same year, Zero awakens out of the capsule. He is found and classified as a Maverick, or irregular in Japanese, and engaged by a squadron of Maverick hunters only to be decimated, and Sigma goes on to investigate. Sigma battles Zero, is damaged and infected with a virus, but was able to subdue Zero and is taken to Dr. Kane to be repaired, and under Sigma's watch, train him to be a Maverick hunter, whose hunter grade rises faster at an alarming rate than any other hunter he has on the force. When a Reploid has a virus, it becomes a Maverick, giving it either evil intentions or a persona of a Berserker, the latter of which Zero ended up upon awakening. The Maverick Hunters were led by Sigma until he too became a Maverick due to the virus during his fight with Zero and declared war against both humans and Reploids, thus starting the Maverick War. X took it upon himself to join the Maverick Hunters under the new leadership of Zero on a mission to save Earth from Sigma, and so begins the first game in the X series. Later games would add in more characters to play as and learn about their backstories too. Originally Zero was supposed to be the protagonist of the X series, but the way he is designed by creator Keiji Inafune would turn fans down, as this won't be the Megaman that fans desired. So instead, Megaman X is created as you see here, and instead of one main hero, X and Zero are both protagonists of this series, just like Johnny Joestar and Gyro Zeppeli of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Steel Ball Run. Before the creation of Mega Man 7 for the classic series, Mega Man X was the first Mega Man game to have an intro stage, helping the player get used to the mechanics of the game, as X is your only playable character. Like classic Mega Man 4 through 6, X can shoot normally and can also unleash a charge shot upon holding and releasing the shoot button. A staple that started with the X series would be the hunter's abilities to scale, slide, or jump off a wall or structure. Eventually, you'll get into a scripted battle with X and Zero's former ally turned Maverick named Vile, or Vava in Japanese, and if you can't tell who he's based off from, he's inspired by Boba Fett of Star Wars fame. He controls a ride armor which you have no choice but to get your own butt kicked, only for Zero to show up and save X. That's when the characters show their personalities. X is very pacifistic and doesn't want to hurt anybody despite having free will, while Zero, with his only memory that he's designed for combat, has the will of bringing justice and encourages his fellow hunters to do the same. It's from there that it just becomes a Mega Man standard, choosing which of the 8 Mavericks you want to take on first. And as always, every time I play this game, I would choose Chill Penguin since he's easy. Each stage contains various enemies and hazards like spikes and crushers, and ends with a boss battle against its respective Maverick. Completing a stage rewards the player with a new weapon, which you can use against another Maverick that's weak against it. Unlike classic Mega Man, completing some stages will, to some extent, affect the landscape of other stages. A good example is that clearing Storm Eagle's aircraft carrier stage will cause electrical outages in some parts of Spark Mandrill's power plant stage, making some paths safe to travel to, or find secrets. Some stages have ride armors that you can control, which are capable of strong punches to take down enemies or destroy obstacles that your own weapons can't do otherwise. You can also replay a cleared stage to find any secrets you might have missed, and it's only after you defeated that particular stage that you have the right to use the escape device. Also, it's a good idea to go to Chill Penguin first, as on your way, you'll encounter your first Dr. Light capsule that is mandatory to enter, as the capsules will give X an armored piece, such as foot parts that will allow X to dash. Other capsules will be well hidden in other stages, and while it's possible to go through the game without the rest of them, it's recommended that you find them to make the game much easier for you. Other parts include chest armor for added defense, X-Buster for improved shots and can charge up special weapons, a helmet for destroying ceilings, And if you met special conditions, and I will not spoil on how to get it, you just have to research it yourself, you can find a capsule containing the ability to perform Hadouken, a staple move in the Street Fighter series. Just input the command as you would in any other Street Fighter game, though you gotta be sure that your HP is in full power for it to work. This move can annihilate most enemies and bosses in just one hit if you know where and when to aim, though I don't use it that much as I know I'll eventually use some HP as I play along. Other items you can find are energy tanks, which you can fill up by grabbing HP capsules while your HP bar is full and use them to heal yourself in a tight situation, and heart tanks, which increase your maximum HP. If you see them, grab them. Once you take down all the Mavericks, Sigma's base is open to enter through, though it's better to backtrack for other missed items first. You know, the way Sigma stares at the player is kinda like having Max Headroom stare at you at every possible moment. Does anybody remember that show? Anyway, the first part of Sigma's base has you facing Vile first, still using the right armor. Like before, X will be defeated, only for Zero to break out of captivity and unleash his full power on the right armor, destroying it at the cost of his body. X instantly recovers and defeats Vile. Zero encourages his best friend once again and succumbs to his damage, leaving X to take matters into his own hands. By first getting through a giant living mural known as the Rangda Bangda, and spoiler alert, this will not be the last time we'll see it, and just like any other Mega Man game, take down the 8 bosses again because why not? X fights its way to Sigma, destroys him, and escapes the fortress as it explodes. As he returns to base, X reflects on the events that have unfolded, questioning Zero's sacrifice, his own decision to fight, and the ongoing war with the Mavericks. Though the end credits has Sigma saying that he'll return in different forms and will return to kill the Maverick Hunters in due time.
Mega Man X was widely acclaimed for the story, the controls, even though it is kind of on the tighter side, the overall aesthetics, the gameplay, and the ability to backtrack, giving it more replay value to the player. It was such a success that 8 other main titles and 2 side games would soon follow, and in 2006, an enhanced remake called Mega Man Maverick Hunter X will be released for the PlayStation Portable.
Thanks to an emulator called Double PSP, I was able to record footage easily using my Bandicam program without any problems whatsoever. One reviewer that I've been following did some short reviews on remakes on PlayStation Portable, and while he praises the game, he often wonders why it's on PSP and not the dual screen despite liking both handhelds. I'll get this out now that while it's obvious that the Sony handhelds will never outsell the Big N's handhelds in terms of sales, at the very least they outlive it. Another great feature that the Sony handhelds have until the Big N's SW console came out on March of this year is that both are region free, so I was able to play any good imports exclusive to both the PSP and Vita. Even though the 3D dual screen has an XL version for better viewing, both the PlayStation Portable and Vita are ahead of having games with larger views. In short, screen crunch sucks! Also, playing both Sony handhelds are actually quite comfortable.
Although I do like the handhelds of both companies, that doesn't mean I will buy every single game for those handhelds. Like for example, for the 3D dual screen, one of the reasons I would get it in the first place would be for the games Project Cross Zone 1 and 2, which both X and Zero appear there by the way. And as for the PlayStation Portable and Vita, well, there's games like Tales of Versus, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, or for the Vita, the Hyperdimension Neptunia series, which I'm a huge dork of by the way, in case you haven't told yet by some of the statues that I have. Anyway, let's move on to the remake.
Maverick Hunter X features a total graphical overhaul with 3D character models and backgrounds, a remixed soundtrack, voice acting, and anime cutscenes in between, and plays greatly at 60 frames per second. The gameplay is largely unchanged, except the controls are smoother than the 16-bit original, though the capsules and power-ups have been relocated elsewhere, making it more challenging. Other unlockables include a movie called Day of Sigma, which serves as a prequel to the series itself, and while the plot is interesting, some parts of the movie seemed much different from that of the series' overall narrative. Maverick Hunter X also gives you the option to play as Vile, and not Zero, mainly because Zero in X1 is likely a palette swap. You go the same pathways as X does, only he has a limited moveset that you have to equip before heading into battle. There are no capsules in this mode, but can still find other power-ups like heart tanks. And because Vile is the character, your final match will instead be against X and Zero. It's definitely a great addition to have in the game.
Now, despite these changes, Megaman Maverick Hunter X is a really fun game, and it stays true to the very original game. So it's definitely worth the purchase on PlayStation Network if you haven't done so yet. So instead of rating them separately for this review, I will rate both of them together. So, both the original and Maverick Hunter X for the PlayStation Portable will get a solid 9 out of 10 for me. It's a classic worth replaying and very linear in concept, making it one of my favorites in the X series, but definitely not number 1. Oh, we'll get to it soon enough. So up next in the Chronicles, we're going to be looking at the sequel, Megaman X2. Will it be second verse as same as the first? Well, looks like I have some in-depth analysis to do. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you subscribe to my channel. Feel free to subscribe also on my Facebook page if you haven't done so yet. So stay tuned from Megaman X2 here in the Marathon. Until then, this has been Musashi X. I bid you all farewell, take care, and stay tuned.